Hi, I'm Ross Alexander and I'm here in London with Blackpool Television, and we've got a very special guest about to join us. He's come all the way over from France to be part of the 30th anniversary of Energize Records, so we've taken the opportunity to catch up with him and have a bit of a chat. So let me introduce you to the one and only Mr. Matt Pop. So thank you very much for joining us today, Matt.
Pleasure.
I know it's been a busy visit for you with the Energize 30th anniversary. So it's great that you've joined us today, and of course it's the first time I've actually got to meet you in person.
True, very true.
Which is quite surreal, to be honest.
Yeah.
So let's start with giving the viewers that don't know of you or your musical history. Obviously many do, but there'll be people out there that don't quite know who you are yet. So just give us a little bit about your background and how you started.
Right. Well, I've always done music privately for myself, and then later on I started doing bootleg mixes of stuff that I liked, just Depeche Mode, Yazoo, ABBA, and I started putting those out online on YouTube, and I started to gain a bit of a following, and I got more and more reactions from them. And then after a while, a few people reached out to me. You were one of them. Also, RuPaul noticed I'd done a bootleg of his, of one of his tracks called "Let's Turn the Night."
Yeah.
He asked me if he could release it officially. So that was a big kickstart for me to get my name out there. And then I think around that time, you asked me to do a mix of. Pumping UK asked me to do a mix. And I think it's all Energize Records and Almighty Records all sort of came around 2009, 2010.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's when I did Abracadabra for Almighty. I did some of my first stuff with Energize with Peter Wilson.
Yeah.
And with Pumping UK, I did Teresa Marie, and I did
Lonnie Gordon.
Obsession, Lonnie Gordon.
Yeah.
And those ended up on the first compilation.
The first couple of Pumping Anthems, Pumping Anthems 1 and 2, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and here we are, 13, 14 years later, and things have just skyrocketed for you. Your client list is growing and growing and growing.
It is, yeah.
Recently, you've done mixes again for RuPaul.
Yeah.
I know, I'm not sure whether the fans know this yet, but you've done mixes for Lamal. You've also worked with Erasure.
True.
And Cilla Black, of course,
Yeah.
the late Cilla Black. Now, obviously, you've got to the point where you've had two actual albums out, one with Almighty, one with Energize, which kind of sort of highlight what you've done up to now. Us at Pumping have been delighted to be able to put together this new album, Matt Pop Essentials, which is kind of a history of what you've done for us, plus a lot of new bonus mixes. And we've noticed, we've had this conversation before, but we've noticed from the sales of that America and UK together generally are your biggest marketplaces, followed by Germany. And I know you're kind of quite at odds that obviously you're Dutch, you're from Holland, you've recently moved to France. Yeah, it's a bit surreal for you as well that you're not that well known in your own home country. Is there any reason for that? Is that just because you've been concentrating so hard on outside of your market, or?
No, it's not actively my choice. It's just that I take the remix work that I want to take.
Yeah.
And for some reason, it's mainly UK acts and labels that have asked me so far, and also I think the type of music I like to do, which is sort of pop, sort of almost bubblegum sometimes, it's sort of very up Euro dance music.
Yeah.
Doesn't really get that much of an audience in the Netherlands generally.
Okay.
So it just doesn't get picked up that way. I mean, it's not an active choice on my part.
Yeah.
And I don't mind. I mean, we're in a global age anyway, so
Yeah,
the music
exactly.
will find its audience wherever it is. And it's all the same to me, as long as people enjoy it. I don't care where they are. And so it's just the way it goes.
Yeah. That's how the cookie crumbles.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you have over the years I've known you and worked with you, you've become far more diverse in the nature of your productions. In the early days, you were very PWL orientated, and as you said, you sort of moved on from doing what people like to call bootlegs or the mashups. And if you listen back to some of those older mashups and bootlegs, you can still see the old Matt Pop still in there. But the way you progressed as a producer is just it's out of this world, you know. And it's great to sit back and watch that and see somebody progress and be successful with that. And there's one joy with working with you as well is sort of giving you a sort of a layout of what you want. And I think in all the times that you know we've put a project your way, it's the tiny little tweak here, tiny little tweak there. You just seem to, certainly with the stuff you've done for me, you know exactly what we want, and it's a pleasure to actually have somebody on board that's so in tune with what the label is doing or what the artist is doing, and you kind of in your own way as well. If I pass a project on to you, let's say for instance Zoe or Teresa Marie, or it's a Ross Alexander project, you can tell with the production, within the production, that you've tried to make it unique to that artist as well.
Yeah.
But it's when people, I get asked obviously because you've produced tracks for me on 3 albums so far, and you know people do say to me, "Oh, what do you prefer? This, you know, the Seventh Heaven mixes or the Matt Pop, and why don't you work with other people?" It's because you've made it so comfortable, and John has as well, that you want to go back to the same people. You're very much in touch with the Ross Alexander project because obviously it's very 80s related, and you're a big 80s fan.
I am, yeah.
So that helps a lot, and that's one. I think I get the general impression that the 80s is kind of one of your favourite genres.
Yeah, I mean, I was in my 20s in the 80s, late 80s, so that music that formed me. That's when I started really buying music and collecting. So there was, you know, early, mid 80s, so that's when we had sort of Euro disco, and we had PWL, we had the Italo sounds coming from Southern Europe. That's the music I was listening to, and then in the UK you had Depeche Mode and Human League and E17 and
Heaven 17,
Heaven 17, E17 were good too, but you know, so that's the music that formed me, and you keep harking back to that a lot, and those songs just they stand the test of time. If I look at a top 40 from say 1986 now, and you see the top 20, they're all. Everybody remembers is George Michael and Prince and Cyndi Lauper and Madonna and, you know, Queen, ABBA, and well, maybe not ABBA because they were gone by then. Yeah. But you know what I mean? Yeah. Those songs have really stood the test of time.
And I think along the stuff that we've done together, I haven't picked out the most obvious songs from the 80s to do. They've been kind of more electro 80s and the darker 80s as well. True. And it's worked. It's worked extremely well. But I know not many people will know this, but one of your sort of solo ambitions is to be able to find the time to actually put an actual as an artist Matt Pop album together. True. With some of your favourite, you know, 80s stuff, 80s favourites.
Yeah. I'd even sing it.
Yeah, exactly.
If I had to.
Because you have done some of that before, haven't you?
I can hold a tune. I've done some backing vocals for Peter Wilson and you know, just
and for me
and for you. Yeah, true. That's right. Yeah. But we'll see. Or even an instrumental album. I could do an instrumental album at one point, which you know.
But you enjoy doing the covers. You do get a lot of pleasure from doing the covers. Do you want to talk to us a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you get flack over doing covers. People say, "Oh, not more covers. Why don't you do original songs?" But the thing is, you know, if you're a big name artist, you know, if you are Beyonce or Adele or whoever, and they bring out a new song and it's an original song, everybody will want to listen because it's them, you know. Yeah. If you're not a huge name artist, like some of the people I work for, and you do your own song, I mean, it can be the best song in the world, people will just not easily find your song. Yeah. Whereas if I say, oh, we're going to do a cover of, you know, a Human League song, we're doing a cover of Blancmange, or we're doing a cover of ABBA, people will sit up and take notice. So the song itself will attract people, and then I think there's nothing wrong with doing a good cover version, because a cover is just a great song that has been done by somebody else before. Yeah. And many of the great songs, they've been done by so many artists over the years, and nobody bats an eyelid. I mean, even the greatest hits are sometimes written for the band, or they just discover a song. I mean, if you think about, you know, Tainted Love by Soft Cell, or Denise Needs by Blondie, or Keep Me Hanging On by Kim Wilde. I mean, Venus Bananarama, you know, there's so many great cover versions that many people won't even know that they're covers
Yeah.
because they sort of trump the original, or not trump, but you know, they coexist happily with the original.
Yeah.
And that's what I always say. If people say, "Oh, I don't need a cover of that song," I'm like, "Well, the original will always be there.
Yeah.
It's not like we're trying to replace it or saying it wasn't good enough. It's just that we like the song, and a good cover can make you rediscover a song maybe you had forgotten, or it can make you reappreciate it,
Yeah.
or see it in a different light. It can be, you know, changed, and that's what I enjoy doing for you when you said you wanted to do, you know, Don't Tell Me by Blancmange, or Hold Me Now by Thompson Twins,
Yeah.
which is one of my favorite mixes for you. I think those songs, you know, in a sort of a new, you know, in a current production, it makes you re-evaluate them, and you know, you just realize that how good a song they were, and they deserve a new go, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I see it from a different angle, where when I'm going out and doing live shows, and a lot of these live shows, there's another generation, a younger generation there, and they will come up to me, you know, the school leavers, and they'll go, "I remember listening to the original from my mum and dad, but what you've brought to it, you've given it new life, and your mix is more current for us to play than the original." Not saying it's better, but it's more, it fits in with what's going in today.
Different audience. Or,
Absolutely. So here we are in 2023, and this is your third album, obviously not for Pumping, but your third compilation of...
Can I just say fourth? I'm
Is
sorry,
it fourth?
I don't mean to brag, but I did 2 for Almighty.
Oh, you did, didn't you? Yeah, sorry.
1 and 2.
Yeah, you did, absolutely,
yeah.
So your fourth album, so it was kind of digging out everything and from our vaults, and then looking at what was left in the vaults. So for me, from my point of view, going, actually those vocals are still great, this could work, this hasn't been done for a long time, and basically giving new life to stuff that was just sat there in the vaults and people have forgotten about from the days that I had originally released this stuff on Clone and various other record labels in the past. So from this particular collection, what did you derive as in pleasure from? Which ones did you enjoy doing the most?
Well, I was, first of all, I was surprised about the number of songs I had done for Pumping. I didn't realize when I saw the list that you proposed. I said, "Oh, of course, yeah, there's that one as well."
Yeah.
And I mean, there's always mixes that I think work really well, that you're pleased with when you're done. It's like Automatic on this that I think worked really well. And I love the Mary Kiani one, you know. It's always easy when you start with a great vocal and a great song. And as these had already been produced before, for me as a remix, it's easy because you start with a good song, good vocals, and it's just a matter of having fun with the arrangement, and just try to make it, you know, pop more, or you know, in a way that I like. And I think it's it's a superb collection because it's many songs that some are obvious choices. Some I had to actually look up on YouTube. I didn't know them.
Okay.
There's one or two sort of, for me, a bit more obscure ones. But once I heard them, I was like, oh yeah, of course, it was that one. So yeah, in that way, it's also for me a bit of a discovery again. So, you know.
I mean, I think there's only a couple of occasions I've come to you in the past and said, what about this? And you've gone, absolutely not. You know, and sometimes it's like, oh, really? Because I really think this could work. But then you got to show mutual respect. And it's like, if you're not in it from the start, there's no point in pushing the issue. One of those songs, I think, which we did turn around, your way of thinking on it, was Real Gone Kid. Oh, right. And it turned out to be just an amazing mix. And you even said you surprised yourself. Because you didn't think that you could do anything with it, or not that you couldn't do anything with it, but you couldn't bring anything new to it, and you've turned it into a brand new song. And
I would never have picked it myself.
No.
I think because I'm Dutch, and I think it was maybe not as massive here, well, it wasn't in the Netherlands as it was in the UK. I was aware of the song, but it was not a song I would have picked. But then it just sort of tickles you, like you think, okay, how would this sound as a dance mix? And then, it turns out it's actually a great song to, you know, for that genre, and it did work out well. So.
Really, really well. The same with the remix of Life. In fact, everything that all the remixes you've done on A Long Journey Home have just turned out extremely, extremely well. But as well, it's weird because obviously, I mean, I lived in Amsterdam for a year when I was much younger, so I kind of understand how things work in Holland. But again, there were many European records that were huge, which you would have taken to heart back in the day. I remember them. But in England, it's vice versa, because like in England, they were like cult hits in the clubs, but over in Europe, they were massive top 10 hits.
I remember pitching one or two to you.
Dan Harrow.
Let's do Dan Harrow, because I love Don't Break My Heart by Dan Harrow, which was an Italo sort of Euro hit at the time. But that's just a personal choice for me, and of course it has to make sense on a commercial level as well. So then I have to trust your judgment.
But I remember all those songs because back in the day, I had a friend who was signed to the same label as Dan Harrow, which was Eddie Huntington.
Okay,
so I'm very, very familiar, because when he used to go over to Italy to record, he used to bring back all the free promos. So I would get them, and I would know, so much about Dan Harrow and various other artists that were signed to Baby Records over there. So I get it, but it's just a case from a record label's point of view, you have to be very careful, what you're putting out there, because they will attract a niche market, and then they're slightly more difficult to introduce into live shows over here. So I've had to, from a personal point of view, box very carefully what is going to work here and what's not. And you can do these as album fillers, but some of them I think deserve more. I mean, I Love My Radio was a massive surprise.
Yeah.
A massive surprise. I really thought I was going to be ripped to shreds over that, but the Italio community really took to it. Even at the launch last night, somebody came over and said, I Love My Radio is ultimately one of my favourite records now.
And of course, one of the writers reached out to say he enjoyed our version, which
is great.
The best thing,
Yeah, absolutely. I had the same with Heaven 17. Somebody posted my version of Temptation on one of the guys, I can't remember which one it was, Martin from Heaven 17, and he actually said he really liked it.
He did, okay.
So when you get that feedback from people that were involved in the original, it's a nice little nod, and you think, well, do you know what, maybe I'm doing the right thing here. But I don't take anything, and I'm sure you don't take any of it seriously. Music's supposed to be fun, it's supposed to be entertaining. And I always say to people as well, certainly when you get your critiques, it's like, you've got a choice. You can listen to it or don't listen to it,
course.
So you can buy it, you don't buy it. No one's forcing you to like it. And yourself, as somebody like me, and I've always said this about myself, I don't regard myself as a singer. But I'm very good at going in and sort of mimicking, monotonic 80 vocals, which can be worked with to recreate.
But it's knowing where your voice suits. What songs you to pick, and that's important. And you sound great to me. You sound great on all those records, so you pick the right ones.
But that's the clever thing. I mean, when you work with producers as well, is if they find the right song for you, which in the past I've had to for the likes of, say, like someone like Zoe, because she's got such a unique voice. She's got a lovely voice, but very unique, but we have to find the right songs that suit her. And then you get somebody like Bianca or Lonnie Gordon or Mary Kiane, and they can, make, so they could sing the telephone book and make it sound interesting. So, but as you said, if you've got a great vocal from the beginning, that sort of, you're halfway there. So just very quickly, I mean, in your process, when you're sent a project in the studio, what's your first setup? What do you go to first to start creating the song?
Well, it's determining the tempo and the general direction of the track. I usually get sent just the vocals to work with. So I import the vocals. Maybe if they need a little bit of work, you need sometimes to tune and time and maybe adjust the tempo to your liking. But after that, it's just trying to build up the sound that you like around it. So you start building a beat, a bass line, lay out the chords that you want, which are not necessarily always exactly the chords as they were written, because sometimes I get a little bit original, or I try,
you're known for that. You're known for that, very much. So.
Well, I think, if I were to change this A minor to a C major here, how would that work? And sometimes I think, that gives a real lift.
Absolutely,
But in general, I try to follow the song as it is, and then just try to enhance what I think needs enhancing, or what's the best about the song, make that shine, stand out more, make sure the chorus really pops out, because the chorus in a pop song is what people hook onto. And then just work on it until I get thrills listening to it.
Yeah.
I want to listen back and think, yeah, I love this.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's no point. I can't work thinking, oh, how would market A or market B respond to this type of mix?
Yeah.
Because in the end, you have to please yourself and the people you work for. And because if you don't put that passion in, I don't think people will.
Yeah.
They in the end, you will sort of be caught out as just trying to be something that you're not. And I just do what I like, and if it's finished, I hope that I can listen back to it and love it from start to finish. And I have to say, with the music I've done for Ross Alexander, the artist, when I listen back to those albums, there's not a moment where I think, "Ooh, I wish I'd done that differently." I love listening to "Don't Tell Me" and "Hold Me Now" and Mirror Man. I mean, really all of them.
Yeah, Living on the Ceiling was
Living on the Ceiling.
Yeah,
that was another one that I thought, ooh, how am I going to approach that? But in the end, I love how it came out.
When I listen back to the 12-inch of that, it's epic.
It's fun,
it takes you on a journey.
Okay, good. Yeah.
So, but did you ever get? Because when I used to produce, I used to always have that dilemma. I'm not sure whether you have it or not, but you get so far and you're happy with it, but you just can't let it go because it's something not quite. Do you suffer with the same thing?
Yeah, the most difficult thing is deciding when it's good enough.
Yeah, when's
and
enough,
of course, as a producer, you tend to work for hours on end on a track, so you can easily spend 7-8 hours working on 2 minutes of music a day. And then your judgment gets so clouded, or you get so tired that you can't really tell anymore what you liked about it in the first place. So the important thing is to sometimes take a step back, leave it for a day or two, and come back with fresh ears, and then you listen. You think either, okay, what was I thinking, and scrap the whole thing, or you think, oh my God, this is really good, and continue. And then
So we're nearly at the end of 2023, and so just give us three of your. If I've said to you, what were your 3 highlights of 2023? What would they be?
Oh, good. Well, I did a mix for a Spanish electro group called Fangoria.
Yeah.
And my late best friend, who is sadly not with us anymore, he was my best friend for many years. He was a huge fan of Fangoria. They are an electro duo that's been going for 30 years perhaps. The singer Alaska is a major star in all these Spanish-speaking countries. So it was a real thrill to be asked by them, by Warner Spain, to do a mix for them. And it was a great song as well, and it went down really well with their fans, which is important. So that was a real highlight for me. I have to say, Mad Pop Essentials was, it really was a highlight, because between it being proposed to me and the labels, when I got the songs, the track list, and I had to do 6 or 7 new ones. So it was quite a challenge.
And
you had over the summer.
You had quite a workload on as well at the same time.
Yeah,
so
I had to fit it
pressure,
in. Yeah, but then apparently I really got into it. I got stuck in, and we got it finished quite quickly. And maybe we had an angel on our shoulder, because
certainly did.
Every mix we did, we decided that we both really liked them, and it went relatively quickly. And then now the finished product is here, and I'm so proud of it. I just love seeing the CD done. And
well, in a sense, to be fair with you, when I decided to start the Ross Alexander project, the label became very, self-orientated, and I only simply and purely because I was concentrating so hard on the Ross Alexander project. It was time that this year I wanted to go back and make the label more about everybody else as well. And it was kind of what would appeal to me, and it's kind of a way of a thank you to you as well, doing this album. Just to kind of give you some appreciation as well. And it's the same with the next album that's coming out, which is a album which is it's all produced by Seventh Heaven. It's my way of sort of saying, look, there's something finished for you. And it's about keeping that relationship going. When you're happy. I'm over the moon that I've got you on board with the label, and I've got Seventh Heaven on the label. 2 very different production outfits, but the sound works so well for me, and it's what I would want. If I'd been signed to another label, I would, as an artist or a producer, that I would always be saying Mad Pop, Seventh Heaven. There are other people, but. It all depends again what sort of marketplace you're going for. With the 90s stuff that I'm doing, I've sort of relaunched Northern Beat, but more as an act. which is generally whoever the vocalist, which isn't me. We've got Son of a Gun coming out, and again, we needed a house mix, of course, for that, and so we went to someone that could do that for the package. But again, there's a record label, and we're a very small record label. We're based in Blackpool. The decisions we make, we have to think about. Is it the right thing to do? Because obviously, being a very small independent label, we're self-funded, so everything is literally fine-tuned. So yeah, but listen, thank you so much for taking time out in your schedule. So
It's an absolute pleasure.
So you're going back to France tomorrow?
Yeah, tomorrow, back to France, and then
Back in the studio?
always, every day. There's always a list of things to do. But all the CDs, the cards for the CDs are now signed, so ready to go.
Ready to go?
Excited for everybody to hear the music as well.
So there we have it, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Matt Pop. Thank you very much, Matt.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Lovely, thank you.
Yeah.